I hate how I overthink everything. I really do. But that night, after Easton left the dorm, my mind absolutely refused to settle. Someone filmed us kissing near the library. That sentence replayed in my head for hours. I lay on my bed staring at the ceiling while Mason sat at his desk playing games with his headset tilted to one side. "You're making the breakup's coming face," he said. "We're not even official yet." Mason paused his game and turned fully to look at me. "Wait, don't tell me you guys aren't official." "We're not. Hayden. I know." He literally looks at you the way a golden retriever looks at its owner. I laughed softly even though my chest felt heavy. I sighed. Everything's happening so fast. Mason took off his headset. "Okay, real talk." I raised an eyebrow. "That sounds terrifying. Do you like him?" Such a simple question. But my heart still stuttered. I thought about Easton standing outside the dorm window holding coffee for me. About the way he held my hand across campus like he wasn't afraid of anyone seeing. About the look in Easton's eyes every time he looked at me, like I was the only person he wanted to pay attention to. "Yeah," I answered quietly. Mason looked at me for a few seconds, then smiled. "Then don't sabotage something good just because you're scared." I stayed silent, because the worst part was, he was right. The next morning I woke up to nearly 30 messages. Half from Mason spamming memes about hot hockey boyfriend. The other half were Instagram notifications. I opened the app with a sense of dread, and immediately saw a repost on the school's confession account. A short, blurry video in front of the library. Me and Easton, kissing. My stomach dropped straight to the floor. Caption: "Belridge's hockey prince finally got a boyfriend?" My heart was pounding so hard I felt sick. Comments kept rolling in. "Wait, they're cute. I knew Easton was gay. Hayden from film department, right? Hot. Poor girls on campus crying RN. About time, honestly." But then I saw a few others. "Disgusting. Keep this shit private. No one wants to see that." My chest tightened. A familiar feeling crawled up my spine. Shame, anxiety, fear. Almost by reflex, I moved to turn my phone off. But right then, the screen lit up. Easton calling. I took a few deep breaths before answering. "Hey, you saw the video, didn't you?" I leaned my head against the wall. "Yeah." Easton's voice softened immediately. "Hey, don't read the comments." Too late. I heard him exhale on the other end of the line. "I'm sorry." "Why are you apologizing?" "Because this is stressing you out." I bit my lip. "You're not bothered?"
"No."
"Even with the whole school talking?" "Hayden," Easton answered without hesitation. "I'm not ashamed of liking you." My heart ached. In a good way. But it also made me feel impossibly small. Because I wished I could be that strong too. "I'm downstairs at your dorm," Easton said. "Come down." 5 minutes later, I stepped outside in an oversized hoodie and sunglasses like a celebrity fleeing paparazzi. Easton was standing next to his Jeep. The moment he saw me, his expression immediately softened. "Come here." I walked closer. Easton lightly touched my wrist. "You okay?" "I don't know." That was the truth. I didn't know what I was feeling anymore. Part of me was happy beyond reason because of Easton. The rest was scared. Scared of other people's stares. Scared of the gossip. Scared of everything becoming too much too fast. "I hate that people see us like gossip," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. Easton was quiet for a moment. Then he reached up and gently slid my sunglasses off my face. "Hayden." "Yeah. Look at me." I reluctantly met his gaze. Easton's eyes were completely serious. "Does anyone in those comments actually matter to you?"
"No."
"I matter." My heart slammed to a stop. Easton continued, "Your friends matter. The people who love you matter. Anonymous strangers online don't." I laughed weakly. "You make it sound so easy." "I know it's not easy." His voice softened. "But I don't want you hiding away just because other people are small-minded." A cold breeze swept across campus. Easton looked at me for a moment. Then he reached out and pulled me closer. Come with me. Where? Somewhere without drama. Easton drove us away from campus for nearly an hour. The farther from school we got, the easier it was to breathe. He finally stopped at a small beach near Malibu. Not crowded, just the sound of waves and cool ocean wind. Do you come here often? I asked as we walked along the shore. When I need to escape. From what? He shrugged. Everything. I glanced sideways at his face in the morning light. There was something very lonely in that answer. I figured someone like you never wanted to escape, I said quietly. Easton laughed softly. Someone like me? Confident. Popular. Like, always okay. He was quiet for a moment. Then he nudged a seashell with his foot. I'm not always okay. I turned to look at him. Easton tucked his hands into his hoodie pocket. When I first came out, my dad didn't speak to me for almost 3 months. I stopped walking. What? Yeah. He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. He thought I'd grow out of it. My chest constricted.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Easton looked out at the sea. Things got a lot better after. But back then, he exhaled. I was just as scared as you are now. I was silent, because for the first time I realized Easton wasn't someone who had never been hurt. He'd just learned not to let fear control him anymore. A large wave rolled in, the water lapping at my sneakers. I still feel like I'm not brave enough, I admitted. Easton turned to look at me right away. Hayden, bravery doesn't mean not being scared. The ocean wind lifted his hair. And God, I thought I'd remember this moment for a very long time. Bravery is taking the next step even when you're afraid, Easton said softly. My chest ached in a strange way. Then he stepped a little closer. I don't need you to change overnight. His eyes were gentle. I just need you not to push me away. I bit my lip, because that was exactly what I'd been about to do the moment I saw the video this morning. Out of reflex, protecting myself before things got too real. But standing here in front of Easton, watching him look at me with eyes so sincere, I didn't want to run anymore. I don't want to push you away, I admitted, so quietly the ocean wind nearly swallowed the words. The corner of Easton's mouth curved up, just slightly. Good. Then he stepped close enough that the toes of our shoes were almost touching. So let me ask you something. What? Easton looked straight into my eyes. Will you be my boyfriend? My heart genuinely stopped. I think my brain actually lagged for a few seconds after that question. The waves kept rolling in behind us. The cold ocean breeze swept across my face. And Easton stood in front of me with that infuriatingly calm expression, like he hadn't just made my heart explode. What did you just say? I murmured. Easton laughed softly. You heard me.
No.
I need to confirm because I think I'm hallucinating. Okay. He took half a step closer. Hayden Walker, I really like you, and I want to be your boyfriend. My heart beat so hard it almost hurt. This was too real, too good. Good enough that I started to fear that if I blinked, everything would disappear. Easton watched me carefully. If you're not ready yet. Yes. I answered so fast I surprised even myself. Easton went still. Then the corner of his mouth slowly curved into the most devastating smile. Yes. Yeah. Meaning yes, Easton. I laughed from the tension of it. I want to be your boyfriend. In that moment, Easton looked at me like he'd just won the lottery. No, more than that. Something in his expression softened entirely, and it made my chest seize up. Then he immediately pulled me in and kissed me. This time it was different from every time before. Not a tease, not flirting, but a slow, deeply happy kiss. So much so that I could feel Easton's smile against my lips. I laughed in the middle of it. You're smiling, I murmured. Can't help it. Easton touched his forehead to mine. Boyfriend. My heart died on the spot. Don't say it like that. Boyfriend. Easton. Boyfriend. Covered my face and laughed like an idiot. Damn. I had never been this happy before. We stayed at the beach for nearly 2 more hours. Walking along the waterline. Talking about nothing. sometimes just sitting beside each other listening to the waves. And the strangest thing was, everything felt right. Right in the way that made me feel at ease. Not trying to be someone else. Not hiding every glance. I could just be Hayden. And Easton still liked me. "What are you thinking about?" Easton asked as we sat on the sand. "I'm thinking you're too perfect." He immediately wrinkled his nose. "Gross. I'm serious. Don't idealize me." Easton picked up a stone and skipped it into the sea. "I can be really annoying. I know. Hey, I still like you." The corner of his mouth lifted. Then he looked at me for a moment like he was weighing something. "There's something I haven't told you." My heart gave a small lurch. "That sounds ominous." "Not really," Easton exhaled. "It's just, last night, Coach didn't call me only because of the video." I sat up straight immediately. "What do you mean?" Easton looked out at the sea instead of at me. "Some guys on the team aren't happy about me publicly dating another guy." My stomach turned cold. "Who?" "Doesn't matter." "Easton." He was quiet for a moment, then smiled thinly. "Mostly freshmen. A few guys who think this is going to bring drama to the team." I tightened my fingers. "And Coach?" "He's fine." Easton shrugged. "He just wanted to make sure I could handle the drama." But there was something in his voice that told me it wasn't that simple. "I hate this," I said quietly. Easton looked at me. "Hate what?" "That people think they have the right to judge us." His expression softened. "Hey," Easton touched my knee lightly. "I already told you. I don't regret it." "I know." "Then stop making the face like you're about to cry." "I'm not about to cry. You're literally pouting right now." I glared at him. Easton laughed and leaned over to kiss me quickly on the cheek. "Goo." "I'm going to block you."
Impossible.
"I'm your boyfriend now." My heart lurched again. Damn, I didn't think I'd get used to that anytime soon. By the time we got back to campus, it was dark. Easton held my hand the entire way from the parking lot to the dorm. This time I didn't pull away. A few people stared. A few whispers followed. But Easton's hand squeezed mine gently, as if reminding me that everything was fine. And for the first time, I was starting to believe it. "Do you want to come up to my room?" I asked when we reached Hammond Hall. Easton raised an eyebrow with shameless mischief. "Hayden, I'm just asking." "Sure." 10 minutes later, the moment we both stepped inside, Mason, who had been lying on his bed, shot upright like a zombie hearing a bell. "He's back." "I hate you," I said immediately. Mason pointed straight at mine and Easton's hands, still clasped together. "Oh, my God." I looked down and realized neither of us had let go yet. My face went hot. Easton was completely unembarrassed. "Hey, Mason," he said casually. "You just became official boyfriends, didn't you?" Mason shrieked. "I knew it." I buried my face in Easton's shoulder and groaned. "I want to die." Easton laughed so hard his whole body shook. "No, you don't. My boyfriend's too adorable." Mason immediately collapsed back onto his bed from sheer excitement. "He called you boyfriend. I will actually punch you. I support LGBTQ plus violently." Easton burst out laughing. I swear I could get addicted to that sound. Around midnight, Mason finally agreed to disappear to a friend's room to give the lovebirds some privacy. I didn't even have time to protest before the door slammed shut. And suddenly, it was just me and Easton. The atmosphere shifted entirely. Quieter. Warmer. My heart started beating fast again. Easton was sitting on the edge of my bed, turning the silver ring on his middle finger around and around. "You're nervous," he said softly. "I'm not nervous. Hayden." "Okay. Maybe a little." Easton smiled gently. "Come here." I walked over and stood between his knees, close enough that my stomach felt warm. Easton looked up at me. His gaze moved slowly across my face like he was memorizing every detail. "Hi," he said quietly. I laughed. Boyfriend. Easton."
Sorry.
He smiled. "I like calling you that." My heart turned to mush. Then Easton reached up and wrapped his arms around my waist. Very gently, as if asking permission. I didn't move away, so he drew me a little closer. Knees touching, breath mingling. "Can I kiss you?" Easton asked softly, even though he'd already kissed me a dozen times. But he still asked. That made my chest ache in the most tender way. "Yeah," I whispered. Easton kissed me slowly enough that everything around us seemed to dissolve. His hands moved gently along my sides through the hoodie, and I instinctively wrapped my arms around his neck. The kiss deepened, warmer, more intimate than anything before. My heart was going haywire, but this time I wasn't scared. There was only the feeling of wanting to be closer to Easton. Then suddenly he stopped. I opened my eyes in confusion. Easton was looking at me with incredibly gentle eyes. "You know," he said softly, "I've wanted to do this since the first time I saw you in film class." My heart skipped a full beat. "Really?" "Yeah." The corner of his mouth curved. "You were wearing the ugliest sweater." I burst out laughing. "Fuck you. I'm working on it." "Oh my God." Easton laughed until he collapsed against my shoulder. And in the middle of that laughter, for the first time in a very long time, I felt like the future wasn't so frightening anymore. I don't remember when I fell asleep. I only remember that around 2 in the morning, Easton was still lying beside me on the way too small dorm bed. One arm draped over my waist while we talked about nothing like two people who had no idea what exhaustion was. And what was driving me crazy felt completely natural. Like my body had always been used to being held by Easton. "What are you thinking about?" Easton murmured in the dark. "I'm thinking dorm beds are obscenely small." He laughed softly right next to my ear. "Liar." "Okay. I'm thinking today was the most insane day of my life." "Good insane or bad insane?" I turned to face him. The faint amber light from outside the window fell across Easton's face, close enough that we were only centimeters apart. "Good," I answered quietly. His expression melted entirely. Then Easton reached up and gently swept the hair from my forehead. "I'm glad you think so." My heart betrayed me one more time. I swear falling in love is genuinely a chronic heart condition. The next morning I woke up first, and for about 5 seconds I genuinely forgot where I was, until I saw Easton sleeping beside me. Hair messed up, face half buried in the pillow. One arm still wrapped around my middle like he was afraid I'd disappear. My heart melted instantly. Damn, my boyfriend is unreasonably good-looking. I was still sneaking glances at him when Easton's eyes suddenly opened. "Caught you," I startled. "You're awake." His voice was hoarse from sleep. "You were staring at me like a creep. I was evaluating your face." "And decent." Easton laughed softly, then pulled me closer under the covers. "Morning, boyfriend." My heart did something embarrassingly dramatic. "I'm never going to get used to you saying that." "Good." He pressed a light kiss to my forehead. "I want you to keep blushing." I buried my face in his shoulder and groaned in despair. Easton is genuinely a natural disaster. Around 10 in the morning, Easton had to go get ready for the hockey game. I walked him down to the dorm lobby in a state of still being half asleep. "You'll come watch, right?" Easton asked for the 3rd time. "I already said I would. I just want to make sure." I laughed. "Are you nervous?"
No.
He shrugged. "I just want to impress my boyfriend." My heart lurched. Damn. Easton saw my face go red and looked extremely pleased with himself.
Goo.
"I hate you." "No, you don't."
No.
"Not even a little." Before he left, Easton leaned down and kissed me right in the middle of the crowded dorm lobby. And for the first time, I didn't look around to see who was watching. I just kissed him back. That moment was small, but it felt like a very significant milestone. Easton looked at me for a few seconds after pulling away. Then he smiled. Not the teasing kind, but a quiet, proud kind that made my chest go warm. "See you after the game?" "Yeah." "Good." Belridge's hockey rink was packed beyond belief. The music, the cheering, the blinding white lights. It was a lot to take in as I walked in with Mason. "You're fully in supportive boyfriend mode now," Mason said. chewing on nachos. Shut up.
No.
He grinned. I live for you two's love drama. I was about to argue back when the cheering suddenly grew louder. The hockey team skated out onto the ice. And then I saw Easton. Belridge's black and red jersey. Hair slightly damp. Shoulders criminally broad. Nearly the entire rink erupted when he appeared. I understood why. Easton was impossible to miss. But the thing that made my heart skip was, amid all that noise, Easton still looked up into the stands to find me. And the moment he did, he smiled, then casually lifted his hockey stick in a small wave. Mason immediately turned to me with an expression like he was about to pass out. Oh my God! He's flirting on the ice. My face went hot instantly. The game started right after. And God, Easton plays hockey with an unreasonable amount of charisma. He was fast, strong, intensely focused, and had this particular confidence that made it impossible to look away. After his first goal, the whole rink exploded. Easton got swarmed by his teammates on the ice. Then he looked up into the stands. Looked straight at me. My heart completely gave up. You're watching him like a military wife watching her husband ship off to war, Mason said, deeply moved. I will push you onto the ice. Love makes people violent. I was about to respond when shouts erupted from below. A North Valley player had just body-checked Easton hard near the boards. Hard enough to be deliberate. I sat bolt upright immediately. Damn. Easton got up almost at once, but I could see his jaw tighten with clear pain. The referee blew his whistle. The crowd got louder. You okay? Mason asked. Yeah. But my stomach was in knots. I didn't like the way that player was looking at Easton at all. The game continued after a few minutes. Things seemed to settle down. Until the end of the second period. Easton was skating toward the opposing goal when a North Valley player suddenly came at him from the side. The hit was too hard. Easton lost his balance and slammed into the boards. The entire crowd gasped at once. My heart nearly stopped. Easton! I didn't even realize I'd shot to my feet. The referee's whistle shrieked. Easton's teammates immediately rushed over. And all I could see was him bent low for a moment, like he was genuinely hurt. My stomach went ice cold. Jesus, maison mutered. That hit was dirty as hell. Easton finally straightened up. He pulled off his helmet, pushed his hair back sharply, and said something to the referee. The crowd was still buzzing. I could barely breathe until I saw him get back into the game. But then, one of the North Valley players shouted something loud enough for the nearby rows to hear. Should have stayed in the closet, Reed. The entire rink went dead silent. I froze. Everything happened too fast after that. Easton spun around. A teammate grabbed his arm like he was trying to hold him back. The stands erupted. People were booing. People were yelling back. The blood in my body burned hot with anger. What the hell? Mason shot up. Which piece of trash said that? But the thing that hurt my heart the most was, in the middle of all that chaos, Easton looked up into the stands, looked at me, and despite the anger, despite the entire rink being in an uproar, his eyes went soft the instant they found me. Damn, I think I'm in love with him. For real. The whole rink felt like it was about to come apart after that shout. Booing. The referee's whistle. People in the crowd standing up and arguing. Everything merged into a chaos loud enough to make my head ring. But in the middle of all of it, I could only see Easton. He stood on the ice, shoulders still rigid with anger. A teammate gripping his arm tightly like he might throw a punch at someone. And then Easton looked up into the stands again. Found me. His expression softened almost immediately, as if the first thing Easton was worried about wasn't himself being insulted, but me. My chest ached. Stay here, Mason said quickly. I'll head down and see what's happening. I'm coming with you, Hayden. But I was already on my feet. I couldn't think straight anymore. I just knew I needed to see Easton. Downstairs near the rink was chaos. The coaches from both teams were arguing with the referee. A few security staff had appeared near the players' area. I pushed through the crowded corridor toward the locker room entrance and was stopped. Players only. I just need to see Easton Reed. Hayden. I spun around. Easton was walking toward me with a few teammates. Still in his game jersey, hair damp with sweat, a small split on his lower lip already red and visible. My chest tightened instantly. God! I stepped closer. Your lip. I'm fine. Easton held my wrist gently.
I'm okay.
But his jaw was still tight. I knew he was angry. Very angry. One of his teammates muttered, "That guy got penalized." "Deserved it," someone else replied. Easton said nothing. He just kept looking at me like he was checking to make sure I was okay. That made my chest ache in a strange way. "You should go rest," I said quietly. Easton was silent for a moment. Then, "Come with me." I nodded immediately. The locker room was mostly empty since most of the team was still out on the ice. The sound of the crowd drifted in faintly from far away, making the atmosphere feel even stranger. Easton sat down on a wooden bench, pulled off his gloves, and bowed his head for a few seconds. I stood in front of him, not sure what to do. "Easton, I hate this," he said, his voice rough. "I know. Not because of what he said." Easton looked up at me. "Because I saw you scared." My heart lurched. I opened my mouth to argue. But then I went quiet. Because he was right. I had been scared. Not because of people staring at me, but because I'd watched Easton get hurt. "I don't want you to be treated like that," I admitted, barely above a whisper. Easton's expression softened immediately. "Hey!" He drew me to stand between his knees. "Look at me." I looked down at him. "I've heard worse." "That doesn't make it okay." The corner of Easton's mouth curved slightly. "My boyfriend's really protective." My heart jumped even through the tension. I reached down and gently touched the cut on his lip. "Does it hurt?" "Not much." "Liar." Easton smiled faintly. "Only a little." I didn't think about it. I just instinctively leaned in and pressed the lightest kiss to the corner of his split lip. Easton went completely still. So did I, the moment I realized what I'd done. The silence in the room turned strange. Easton looked at me with an expression that made my heart feel like it was about to combust. "Hayden, what? Are you trying to kill me?" My face flushed hot. "I was just..." Easton pulled me down and kissed me immediately. Harder than usual this time. Not rough, but the kind of kiss that carried a lot of pent-up emotion. One hand pressed firmly against my lower back. I nearly lost my balance and had to grab onto his shoulder. When the kiss ended, both of us were slightly breathless. Easton's forehead rested against my stomach. "God," he murmured. "I like you way too much." My chest seized up. I gently ran a hand through his hair. "I know."
No.
Easton looked up at me. "You don't understand yet." Those eyes. Damn. There was no going back for me anymore. Belridge won the game in the end. Easton scored one more goal in the final period. Like he channeled every ounce of his frustration straight onto the ice. And after the game, what happened inside the rink spread across campus faster than a wildfire. Some people sided with Easton. Some just stirred the drama. A few accounts even posted clips of the moment the whole rink went silent after that shout. I read a few comments before I had to turn my phone off. Easton was different. He seemed almost indifferent, at least outwardly. "I'm fine," he said as we walked back to the dorm after the game. "You don't have to pretend to be strong all the time." Easton glanced at me and laughed softly. "You really read me that easily?" "I learned from the best." The corner of his mouth curved. It was late. Campus was quieter than usual. The amber lamps stretched across the stone path, still slightly damp from the afternoon rain. Easton suddenly stopped walking. "What?" I asked. He looked at me for a moment, then said, very quietly, "I love you." My heart stopped. The air around me seemed to vanish entirely. "I know it might be too soon," Easton continued, laughing softly with a rare nervous edge. "But today when I looked up and saw you in the stands, I kissed him before Easton could finish. Because if I hadn't, I was sure my heart would have shattered." Easton wrapped his arms around me instantly. This kiss was softer than all the others. Warm, unhurried, full of something that made my chest ache in the most beautiful way. When we pulled apart, Easton was still looking at me from very close. You didn't answer. I laughed softly even as my eyes started to sting. I hate that you always catch me off guard. Easton's eyes widened slightly. Then he smiled. The kind of smile so full of happiness I thought I'd remember it forever. Did you just call me on? My face burned. Shut up. Not a chance. I laughed and rested my forehead on his shoulder. My heart was pounding. But for the first time in a very long time, I didn't want to run anymore. I love you, I whispered. Easton's arm tightened around my waist immediately. Yeah? He asked quietly. Yeah. Good. Because I plan to love you for a very long time. Damn. I'm genuinely going to marry this person. A week later, things on campus gradually settled down. New drama emerged. The internet moved on to other topics. But Easton and I stayed exactly the same. Worse even. Worse in the sense that Mason complained every single day. You two are disgustingly cute. Right now, I was stretched out on the couch in the dorm common room, my head resting on Easton's thigh while he read through study materials and absent-mindedly ran his fingers through my hair. Mason watched the scene and made an exaggerated gagging motion. Nobody's making you look, I said. But you two are literally glowing with love. Easton laughed. I looked up at him. What are you laughing at? In that moment, Easton went still. Then he slowly looked down at me. What did you just call me? Mason immediately collapsed dramatically onto the sofa. Oh my God. My face went hot instantly. Nothing.
No.
Easton grinned in a dangerously pleased way. Say it again. I hate both of you. Baby, Easton said, barely suppressing a smile. Please. I'm breaking up with you. No, you're not. He leaned down and kissed me quickly on the lips. You like me too much. And the most infuriating part was, he was right.